Final Hour Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Our best bets later in the hour on the Cup Final tonight. Game 6, Oilers, Panthers, Jays in action, Orelvis Martinez in the lineup. Hitting 8th, playing second base. I look forward to seeing that tonight. Right into the Oiler game. You got the Travelers going on. You've got the Copa America. You got the Euros. Olympics right around the corner. I love it. You see Wyndham Clark today suggesting the Olympics are actually now more important than the Ryder Cup for golfers, which is just a lunacy comment.
Europe's just like, oh, what a great comment by him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that maybe explains why Europe beats up on them every single time they go over there. But, yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend, fun night tonight. And I have my 5-pack that I'll get to momentarily. Right, pressure list, the underpant cam. Who are you watching going into this game tonight?
And this can double as a double segment where Jonas could not like some of the things and just add those to Jonas Knows Best. So it could be like a combo segment.
Well, we have been starting each hour with a Jonas Knows Best. Do you have any other ammo that you want to supply us with here, Jonas?
I do. I actually have a couple. Should I just do one?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's see where it takes us.
I recall, and I remember kind of like looking up while I was like cooking dinner. I was listening to the show and I was like, did he just say that?
Okay. Wow. This turned into a roast.
Yeah, you got to start saying stuff that I don't agree with, Jeff, and then I can add you to the segment.
I love that the two of you see the world the same way. I couldn't feel more in tune with my thoughts.
Admittedly, I added myself. I said, Jonas, I've said something, or Hayes has said something that you hate. So bring them to the table.
Yeah.
But in saying that, this has all been directed at Hazy B. Please go ahead, Jonas.
So you guys were talking about the Conn Smythe, and you were mentioning McDavid and how, like, can he win, like, if they lose? And Hayes said that there should actually be a compelling case for Bobrovsky. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, is this guy serious? Like, is he watching?
Okay.
And to be fair, this was before last game, before like the kind of the mini meltdown started. But it's like, come on.
Okay, so I believe, again, my argument, this is where it's tough for me because I've said a lot of things and you're throwing them at me, was I was going at the group think that applies to voting all the time. Well, it's got to be him now, which happened with McDavid all of a sudden after Game 5. You'll recall, Jonas, through 3 games, no one was talking about McDavid.
That's a good point.
Not one he was still statistically on pace to pass Gretzky and put up great numbers. And if I had have said after Game 3, I think McDavid should still win it, the whole mob would have come at me and said, you're a loser and an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about. Because at that point, it was Bob. So you're telling me after 2 games, it became outrageous to suggest that Bob should still be in consideration for the Conn Smythe. I'm not changing my mind on that. I understand the case for McDavid. I tend to lean towards that case. But if Bob makes 50 stops tonight and they win the Stanley Cup simply because he is unbelievable.
Really?
Why would it still not be Bob?
So if you had a vote and that happened, you would vote for Bobrovsky?
I have a tendency to vote for a guy on the winning team. Call me crazy.
So does everyone.
I know exactly. So I for some reason that is no longer conventional thinking. But Bob factored in greatly in the first round, the second round, the third. So did McDavid. McDavid is a lock, obviously, if Edmonton wins this. And I think if it goes to 7, if they win tonight, the Oilers, and McDavid puts up 2 or 3 points, then I probably wake up tomorrow saying it's over. The guy's been
if Florida wins tonight and McDavid has a couple points, you don't think
Bob's
it's McDavid?
Unbelievable?
Hayes, do you want to know what his
Bob should win could win the Conn Smythe?
Guess what his save percentage is in the playoffs?
What is it?
It's not amazing. It's .906.
Okay, well,
now,
when you get shelled for 3 games,
right?
Sure. How many games did he play? 20 games?
22.
Like, you know better than that, Jonas. 22, you have 3 games, and he's had 1 bad game per series.
But historically, if you're going to look back and be like, who is the best player in that postseason, you're not going to be like that guy over
So,
this
Jonas,
guy.
your point is McDavid's winning the Conn Smythe regardless of what happens.
Yes.
You think he should do that?
Yes.
Okay, and when did that change? Because you wouldn't have said that after game 3.
I was not thinking about it until I heard your conversation.
Okay, but go back in time. After game 3, do you think you could have made a case for McDavid to win the Conn Smythe?
So let's say they got swept.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't know what to do.
Exactly. Okay, let's say they lost in 5 and got smoked. He's not winning it.
But
he's not.
I think he would have still.
No,
I think
he would
probably
not
should have.
He would not have. Should have is
playoff
different than
It
would
would
have.
have been Barkov if they got smoked in 5. It would have been Barkov or Bobrovsky.
Yes, exactly. He's at 8 points in 2 games, and now we're all caught up in this McDavid wave.
As we should be, and I
As we
won't say,
should be.
because some guy just sent me a note saying, stop saying McDavid's getting his flowers, because I've said it too much in the last 3 days. So to that loser who I just blocked, I won't say that anymore.
Okay. But yes, we're all riding the wave. I'm right there with you. He deserves all the accolades in the world. 8 points in 2 games in must-win games. He got 10 points in his last 3 games. Out of this world. The statistics speak for themselves. What is unique, as we know, is that he still could lose in 6 games. Now, is that his fault? No. But the nature of the voting, historically, there's always a great player on the losing team. Always. No one looks at that player and says, that's the guy, come on, even though he lost. I think we're caught up in the moment over the last 2 games because of how great the story has been and how great McDavid's played. But the series isn't over yet. And that was the case I was making more than anything. Not suggesting that McDavid won't win or shouldn't win, just that I think this conclusion that it's over, to me, is ridiculous. Because after 3 games, it wasn't. So 2 games and McDavid just takes the Conn Smythe? That doesn't. I
think
thought
the
it's supposed to be
Gretzky
a sample size of the whole thing.
Yeah, but it's the Gretzky thing, right? Like right when you start flashing his name up there, and it's like, well, he's basically at Gretzky level.
Well, why didn't Gretzky win the Conn
It's
Smythe
like
in
you
93?
just mentioned. It's like you just mentioned. I also agree with Jonas that McDavid is the Conn Smythe winner. He's just. But I also believe that it takes one person to say it first, and then you start buying into it. And Hayes, you've been overusing this term a little bit, groupthink. I've bought into the groupthink, and it's just like, yeah, that's what should happen. But it kind of should happen. I'm buying into the groupthink.
Buying into the groupthink, okay. Now, in 93, we all recall Patrick Waugh was unbelievable, right? The Habs, what did they win, 10 games in overtime that run? I think they were 10-0 in overtime. And Waugh deserved to win it. But Gretzky in 93 was, in large part, was dragging the Kings to a cup final. And was anyone saying, well, it's Gretzky? Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll see how it plays out. At this point, I think the pendulum has swung enough where McDavid is now going to win it because people are afraid to not vote for him because they'll get torched. But if Bob's unreal, let's say Bob's great tonight and they lose 1-0 in overtime and then he makes 50 saves in Game 7. I know these are all what-ifs. But what if he has the equivalent over the next 2 games of what McDavid did Game 4 and 5? Why would he not swing back into the conversation? Would he not?
Does it have is there anything that says it has to go to the guy on the winning team?
Well, no,
right?
Of course not. But it also, you can win the heart if your team misses the playoffs, but that never happens.
I voted for McDavid one year. He missed the playoffs. Everyone was
There
like,
you
well,
go.
you can't vote him for the MVP if he missed the playoffs. It's like, well, why not?
Well, I know. But that history would suggest that that's the way voters think, not group think on their own. All right.
I think you need a new group think segment somehow.
I got a lot of group think out there. There's a lot of group think.
Like what?
Well, the McDavid one, first and foremost. I think the Marner one is moving in that direction. Now, I happen to be in that camp, but it is collectively accepted by a lot of people like Marner's got to go. And maybe the Leafs see it differently. Guess we'll find out. But, all right, what do we have here? Do you want me to get to the top 5, the underpant cam here?
Let's go.
Okay, so I got a 5-pack here. You guys tell me how I feel about this. The way today's gone, I'm assuming there will be people that will disagree with me. Number 5, basically a pressure list here. We're calling it the underpant cam list. Who are we tracking in terms of how they're feeling going into the game? I have Leon Draisaitl at 5. Now, I have him there because he's in a cup final. He's a great, great player. He's a future Hall of Famer, yet he hasn't contributed anything yet. And his team has allowed him another opportunity to do so. Right? He's a guy that's very proud. He's a guy that believes in himself. He's a guy that wants to be in the mix, and he wants to be a guy that pushes things over the top. He has not done it. I think there's some nerves that this could basically be stripped from him, a cup final, the first in his career. Who knows when he gets back? And the idea that he never contributes anything, like substantially, would put some pressure on him tonight.
Well, I understand what you're saying there, but we've also said it on this show earlier in the show that this guy's basically Matthew Tkachuk in last year's finals, where he was so beaten up and so injured that he can't do what he wants to do out there. Not what he's supposed to do, what he wants to do. So it's almost like you can ask for it, you can hope for it, you can say this is your opportunity. But if he physically can't do the things he's supposed to do, what could you really expect? Well, because that's the comparison. He's Matthew Tkachuk of last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, but he's still playing. Tkachuk literally came out of the lineup as that series went on. He's still playing, and I think if he's playing, he's going to put pressure on himself to bring something.
Yeah, and I guess you can't change the rule that I always have, and it's just the law of the NHL. You put your jersey on, your judges being 100%. Mm-hmm. If you tell the training staff and the coaches that you're playing and you put the jersey on, as soon as you skate out there, there's no excuses because your judge is being 100%. And that's just a fact. It's a law, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way you're judged. So you put your jersey on, you're 100%, so I guess you're right.
Okay, number 4, I have Matthew Tkachuk at number 4. Now, Tkachuk, I think he's probably the face of this team. I know Barkov, Bob, Maurice is really outspoken as a coach, but he's a huge personality. He comes from an NHL family. His dad, Keith, never won a cup. His brother is not, I don't think he's ever played a playoff game. Back-to-back cup finals for Matthew Tkachuk, the way he plays, what he represents. I thought he played great the other night. I think he's got to carry it over tonight, but I think in the back of his mind he understands that this is his moment where he's got to match what's coming on the other side. He's got to match whether it's McDavid, Draisaitl, RNH, whoever he's up against. He's capable of doing it. I think he puts a lot of pressure on himself anyway because he knows who he is. But he will be one of the faces of the collapse. He's aware of that.
No question. He is the heartbeat of the team. You can talk about Bobrovsky and net, how he can steal a game, or Barkov's incredible play at both ends of the rink. Matthew Tkachuk made things go for that team. He completely changed the whole organization as soon as he stepped foot in that dressing room. Mm-hmm. Completely changed everything about that organization. Going to go down as one of the greatest trades of all time, especially if they can pull this off.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, back-to-back cups, and then if you win one, I mean, it's and he's the face of that. He represented that, to your point. Like, won the President's Trophy, wasn't good enough. What was good enough? Bring in Matthew Tkachuk. He knows that. They won the President's Trophy. They fired their coach, or they let him go. They brought in Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice is at number 3 because the coach is always going to be a guy that is, you don't want to be like the Doc Rivers of the NHL. And I should be careful. That Doc's won a title. Like Doc Rivers won a title.
Long time ago.
A long time ago. But if you're the coach, back-to-back years in a cup final, team's up 3-0, and it collapses on you, people are going to look to you and wonder, why could you not get the best of that group? Why did you allow the nervous energy to take over them? He's been in the league a long time. Like Mo's been in cup finals before. Last year with Florida with you guys in 2002. He's been around the block. I think he realizes he's not a young guy, not a young coach anymore. He's got to get this one. He's got to get this one. I got Paul Maurice at 3. All right, this is where it might surprise you guys.
I know what your last 2 are. Do you want me to guess 2?
Okay, go ahead.
Bob's at 2.
I have Bob at 2. Now, the reason it's not flipped, do you want me to? Maybe I should give you my number 1.
Is McDavid 1?
I have Skinner at number 1.
Oh, wow.
Nature of the position.
That is a savvy, journalistic approach, and you nailed it this time, Hazy B.
Thank you.
And Jonas, you have nothing to say about what this list is about because that's great journalism.
That is quality journalism. I'll pat myself on the back. And the reason I have Bob at 2 is because he's still up 3-2 in the series. Skinner, if you're the last line of defense, if you're the goalie at home, and you choke it away, it becomes great. We would have done it, but this guy. Thanks, Stu. Thanks, Skinner. Thanks, man. What happened there in Game 6? What happened to you being clutch down the stretch? Bob's got 2 cracks at it. It's razor thin between these two. And the reason I don't have McDavid in there is just because I believe he's going to be unbelievable tonight. And I think he's done everything he possibly could up to this point to make sure that, this team has a chance to win. And maybe he should be on this list. I don't know who I would take out. Maybe you could argue it's Draisaitl because of what we said. He's injured, and maybe he can't pull his weight anyway, so it's that much more pressure on McDavid to do it. But I got Bobrovsky at 2, and I got Stuart Skinner at 1. Here's your 5-pack underpant cam tonight.
As much as we've given you a bunch of trouble today, I think it's fantastic what you just put together there.
Thank you.
Jonas, do you have any? Oh,
Jonas is disputing. All right, Jonas, take the floor.
No,
Take
the only thing I would say with McDavid is like, you just don't know how many finals you're going to get to. You know, right? Like he's 27, and obviously it's not old. And
yeah, but what the hell are you going to say if he doesn't get it done tonight, Jonas? Oh, where were you,
still got the
McDavid?
No, but it's just like you just never know how many chances you're going to get. But I think your list was great. Good job.
Thank you, Jonas. There you go. Thank you. And listen, you're not wrong on that. 27, I've stated this. He's in his 9th season. Wayne Gretzky won his 4th and final cup in his 9th season.
But those were like half cups, according to you, right?
No, I never said half cups. I just said if you win down 3-0 in a series and come back, that is worth a lot more than just your standard Stanley Cup. That's what I would say. And I don't think I'm wrong in that. I think that's exactly what you and your counterparts at The Athletic will write.
Really?
The hyperbole will go through the roof in terms of what Edmonton accomplished here if they can find a way to come back and win this cup. And I think McDavid, because again, you're running out of things to say about the guy, he could finally supply us with something we've never seen before, or since 1942 when the Leafs came back down 0-3. You come back down 0-3 with a 32-team league, salary cap, beast mode. No Draisaitl basically in the cup final. Like, it'll just grow and grow and grow. Like, the legend of this cup run, and ultimately if they win the cup, the legend of McDavid, again, I just don't think you can compare it to what any other player or team did back in the day. Like, it would seem incredibly unique. And maybe I'd be caught up in the moment. Maybe it's recency bias. I don't know. But I'll lead that charge, Jonas, and you feel free to jump on board if you choose to. All right? But they got to get there first. All right, Matthew Scianitti coming up. We got our best bet still to come later in the hour, and it's going to be a good one tonight. Mail It In Fridays brought to you by Boston Pizza. Canada's favorite sports bar, BP, is all in on supporting the Oilers to end the 30-year drought. BP is changing their logo from red to orange until the Oilers win it. Boston Pizza wants all of Canada on board to bring the cup home where it belongs. See you for Puck Drop and join us cheering on the good guys. History awaits. All right, Matthew Scianitti, when can Canada beat Argentina? When will Canada score a goal? When do we get past moral victories?
Never.
Okay.
According to you.
No, listen, I'm a realist. As I've established. You two are sports hippies, and you just think everything's just going to happen because you want it to happen. But there's more to it. It's more complex than that. So Scianitti will join us, and we'll get his take on all this. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Colleen tweeting in with, I think, a legitimate observation that with O and Jonas on the same page on everything, it's like O's turning into one of Jonas's cronies. And that's kind of what's happened today. You guys are teaming up on me and the way I see the world, and the two of you are just kumbaya, and you see it the same way. That's great to see.
I've already got the future segment for the next time Jonas is on, Hayes. It's called Hayes v. Jonas Brothers.
And you're one of the brothers?
I'm one of the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah. All right. They're a crony,
Hayes
man.
versus the Jonas Brothers.
Never thought I'd see the day, but here we are. All right, Matthew Scianitti coming up here in a moment. Jays in action tonight. Down in Cleveland, they actually took 2 or 3 from Cleveland last week, but Cleveland's been a good team this year. And Jonas, I know you're tracking this team closely. Like, for me, it's about Martinez playing. That's really all that matters. You know, the season is not going to rapidly turn around to the point where they put on some miracle run.
So what do you think the purpose of this is then?
For Martinez to be playing?
Yeah, like, is this just like
well, they finally said we're
bone?
crap, so let's give the kid a chance. Like,
Yeah. And, you know, you wait for a certain date so that, you know, the team control and all that kind of stuff, right? The clock gets running, and I don't think that's a surprise that they were going to wait until halfway into the season. And Bichette's on the IL. You can't predict that. And he's not playing short tonight. He's playing second. But I think it's a sign of what's likely to come, that they're going to have to start promoting the future a little bit more. And they better try to show that they got something coming here, because a lot of their veterans, their star players, That's what's been so disappointing is that they've all had down years. Like who you can put up on the marquee to sell, none of them have pulled their weight. Your ace is Gosman. He's really having a bad year. Like, let's call it what it is. Based on him, statistically, everything, his body language, it's not a good year. Can't sell him. Bullpen, you can sell your closer. Jordan Romano, can't sell him, right? He's been injured, and his stats have really been bloated. He's blown a lot of saves. He hasn't pitched well. Can't sell him. 1, 2, 3 in the lineup. That's generally who you're selling. That's Springer, Bichette, Vladdy. You can't sell any of them. None of them. So Gosman, Romano, Springer, Bichette, Vladdy, none of them are box office draws right now. None of them. And that probably speaks to why this team is so disappointing and so difficult to get behind. And now at least maybe you can watch, Horowitz play or Barger play or maybe Martinez, or maybe you call up young kids, and I don't know. It's like throwing a bone to the fan base who's just dying for something to be able to watch that they can sink their teeth into a little bit.
There's no worse place to be than a rebuild from a rebuild. It's like you got rid of Donaldson, Tulowitzki, and you filtered these young guys through Bichette and Guerrero, and then you just supplemented them with the Springers and all the pitching and everything else. And then now it's like it didn't work, so you're rebuilding from a rebuild. And it's just the worst place to be in sports. Like, you're showing your fan base, we tried this. You never come out and say it. No management team ever does. But it's like, we tried this. It didn't work. 2 years ago, they were World Series favorites. World Series favorites to start the season. And now they're a mess. So it's like, this didn't work. Now you're talking about Springer and guys like that aging, and like their play is falling off, and like you can't hardly find a place for them in the lineup. It's crazy how fast it happens.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, exactly. And the guys that they brought in, like Connor Falefa's actually been pretty good for them, but there's limitations on what you're going to get out of him. Justin Turner's really struggled. Kiermaier struggled. And, what else have you really done? Like, what else did you even try? And you were banking on the guys I talked about, Gosman and Bassett and Bo and Vladdy and Springer and Romano and Swanson. There's another guy who's not even with the team. Like, your setup guy and your closer, they're not even a part of the program. And when they have been healthy in pitching, it's been a disaster. So it's just overwhelmingly negative and pessimistic, just kind of hanging around the team. It sucks. And it's a long year. We're still in June. They got over 80 games left to play. It's a long grind. All right, the Copa America is also a bit of a grind, and I think it got off to a somewhat predictable start for Canada last night. They were massive, massive underdogs against Argentina. And it's 0-0 at the half. They had chances in the first half. You could argue maybe they should have been up 1-0, maybe 2-1, something like that. But offense has been an issue. They have not scored in the friendlies leading up to this. They did not score last night. In the second half, Argentina took over the match, and they obviously ended up winning 2-0. Here's our main man, Matthew Scianitti, who's covering the national team, was down in Atlanta last night. Moral victories. We're trying to fight against those, Matthew, but do you see any? Is there any reason to believe this team should find any moral victories based on the way the game played last night?
Yeah, what's going on, boys? I asked that to Alphonso Davies on the field last night. I said, I imagine you're done with moral victories. And he said, we need to change our attitude. And, attitude's got to start with scoring, Hayes, because if you can't score, it doesn't matter who you're facing, Lionel Messi or otherwise, you're not going to beat any nation in international soccer. The Copa America is also a completely different beast. A lot of Canadians would have been introduced to some of the antics of South American soccer last night, namely Argentina making Canada wait for the walkout, then Argentina making Canada wait in the second half. But the one thing I will say is they clearly rattled Argentina, because I watched the players. I walked up to the tunnel as they walked into the dressing room. The Canadians, heads held high, very workmanlike. And then I saw Messi remonstrating with his teammates. Clearly they, much like I saw them against the Canadians against the French expected a butt-kicking expedition, and I think the Argentines did too. And the Canadians made them work. But there is that thing when you're talking about Canada facing three of the top 7 nations in the world, the Dutch, the French, and then Argentina. They will turn it on. And if you can't match them, you saw what happened right away. Argentina scores inside the first 5-7 minutes of the second half. And Canada certainly was not going to sit back. It was giving as good as they got. But you could see every so often a ball over the top, and there's little Lionel Messi just waiting to spring on Maxime Crépeau. Overall, I think Jesse Marsh has talked to me quite a bit about effort and wanting his team to get angry and show a bit of attitude. And they certainly did at points last night, and they weren't going to get the calls. Much like the NBA, the Stars get the calls, especially in international soccer, and especially in the Copa America when there's 71,000 people wearing Lionel Messi jerseys. So Moise Babito apparently getting fouled in the box isn't going to give Canada a penalty, and Jacob Schaffelberg getting studs in his shins isn't going to get them a call. So got a lot of learnings to do. The team just arrived in Kansas City ahead of Peru. They are not the same quality as Argentina. But this team, their whole mantra is no fear, all fight. That's good for a slogan on a T-shirt, but they got to show it on Tuesday night.
Matthew, you can say, Davies can say change of attitude. We talked about the World Juniors and how some of the nations show up and they're like, it's a lot of the same results all the time, how they have these big plans and ideas to be better, to continue to grow the sport, grow the game wherever they are. How does it get better for Canada as opposed to improve your attitude? Like, how do they get better results because we talked about this. How long does the country have to move off of the idea where it's a great effort and you had some chances, you had some great scoring opportunities? How long do they have to wait, or will it ever change to move off of that ideology?
You know the Dog better than anybody else. If you ain't doing your job, you're going to get moved out of the lineup. I suspect there will be lineup changes on Tuesday against Peru. Jesse Marsh said it. This team, especially facing Argentina, is stronger, bigger, taller, and younger, but not as savvy, not willing to kind of do the dirty stuff. We talk about it so often in hockey, putting your body in front of the ball, putting yourself in the line of fire. And Canada wasn't doing that in some situations, and I know it was frustrating. Jesse Marsh, I could see him on the sidelines. So this is a long-term project. He has said to me over the course of the last month that I've been around the team that he wants this team to get out of the group stage and really make an impact in an expanded World Cup in 2026. But to do that, he's going to see what he has. And seeing what you have sometimes is sending a message. And I wonder aloud here if he's going to perhaps send a message to some of the stars on the team. Now, I can tell you a lot of people have been impressed with, the early leadership of what Alphonso Davies has shown with the captain's armband on. What Jesse Marsh does, he's already changed his goalkeeper a couple times. He has changed his defense. But those attackers up front, I'm talking about Kyle Larin, Jonathan David, Tejan Buchanan, maybe they're sitting on the bench come Tuesday night to give other guys that Canadians don't know, like someone like Theo Bair, an opportunity to get in there. Because Peru doesn't have the World Cup kind of reputation that some of the other South American countries have. But in the Copa America, they're a tough team to beat. But they are older. They don't have the recognized stars that Argentina has, but they'll be coming in for a street fight. So if you want to see what this Canadian team really is made of in a do-or-die game, they need a result. You might want to see it on Tuesday night.
With Matthew Scianitti. So you referenced the stunt, before the game and at half in particular, which I found wild to watch. I was sitting there with my kids, and my oldest was like, "Why is Canada out there? Where's Argentina?" And I didn't have an answer for him because they got out to the pitch, and it was a good 12 minutes, 15 minutes before
That's
Argentina.
Some peacocking, man.
Yeah, and Marsh wasn't happy after the game. I believe he suggested Argentina should be fined for that. That's not going to make a difference. What's that going to do? But how do the refs possibly allow that? And what was that experience like in the building, watching Canada sit there and wait for them 0-0? They're jacked. They think they had a good first half. And Argentina makes them sit there and sweat for like 15 minutes.
I'll put my soccer nerd hat on. I have watched this game most of my life. I have watched competitions in South America for most of my adult life. What you saw last night is pretty much standard practice in South American soccer, especially when, we look at the NBA. We talk about star treatment, right? LeBron getting the calls. Well, in South American soccer, you can kind of saddle up to the pitch whenever you feel like it and make the team wait. And I imagine from watching Lionel Messi getting upset at his teammates as they were walking into the locker room to the moment that they walked out, making Canada wait, and Jesse Marsh literally saying, "Okay, well, if I've got the time, I'm going to walk out to the middle of the pitch here and start talking to my players and get more time with them." That it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be unsettled by that because that's a flex. They were completely flexing on Canada last night, and I will give credit to the Canadians in this respect. someone like Jacob Schaffelberg, who has played Lionel Messi many times, who would be unknown to many sports fans in Canada, he comes on as a substitute, and he's running at someone like Lisandro Martinez, who plays for Manchester United. So much so that Lisandro Martinez has to put his studs into Jacob Schaffelberg's shin. But Canada doesn't get the call. And Canada's not going to get the calls in this tournament. They're not. Let's go back to when the Raptors, when I was on those playoff runs in 14, 15, 16, 17, when they were earning their stripes in competitions like that, when they were getting beaten by the Washington Wizards and the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Brooklyn Nets, when they had to kind of earn it. And this is where Canada's going to have to earn it. And being able, though, to kind of push through that and fight, immediately it's going to cause a lot of frustration for Canadians who want to embrace this team, who want to see this team be successful. But internationally, it's going to gain a reputation for Canada that they don't mess with. They're not going to be easily, pushed around. But again, this team has to score. And Jesse Marsh said it last night that he's not overly concerned about that because of the talent on this team. And I tend to agree. But the fact is, the moral victories, we're way past that. I want to see what this team does when it gets a lead. I want to, get past learning how to play really, really well and really, really tough against some of the top nations. When you're playing Croatia and you score inside the first 15 minutes and then they roll over you, that's what Canada has to learn to deal with. Not, getting ribbons for just coming there and being a participant. Like this country now in men's international soccer, the women have already proved it, but in men's international soccer, Canada still has to have their statement moment. Will it be against a team like Peru? A result against Peru is big, but a statement internationally in Copa America is getting out of the group. Jesse Marsh talks about, I'm only focused on progressing towards 2026. To make that progress, though, you got to start winning games. Scoring goals, though, is right at the root of that.
So that was going to be my question. So would that be a successful result for Canada at this tournament? Just getting out of the group?
Jonas, absolutely, Jonas. I think if you look at the next two games, they're very, very winnable games for Canada. This is a team that has a lot of speed. Not to repeat myself, but this team has a lot of skill. The one thing that does go against Canada is that some of its star players, Stephen Eustáquio and Tejan Buchanan, have made big moves. They play for big clubs in Europe. Stephen Eustáquio has been with Porto for a few years, and Tejan Buchanan made his own statement by getting a transfer to Inter Milan. But they're not playing regularly. And in Jesse Marsh's system of pedal down and you're going to run for 90 minutes, if you don't have the wheels, you're going to get tired. And I've watched this Canadian team over the last month in about the 50th minute, the 60th minute, just look absolutely out of it. And that's not because they're unfit. It's because these guys are not playing 90 minutes regularly, week in and week out. And I can tell you, I'm very, very lucky to be on the sidelines for football games and for international soccer matches. These guys are running at top speed all the time. Watching Alphonso Davies in full flight, I can't even describe it. You have to watch him in person on the field at that level. But this Canadian team, those players need to be playing regularly, and Marsh has challenged them, not only in the international windows, but also pushing for their clubs. Because for this country to get better, beyond success, beyond moral victories, is they have to make a statement with their clubs. But in this tournament right now, they got to go into that game on Tuesday night, and they got to win. Not even a 1-1 draw suffices. They got to go ahead and really prove to this competition, to a team like Peru, but to themselves, that they can stand up and be a part of this competition.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have here. Watching Messi, it's interesting. That was turf last night, I believe, Matthew. I wonder, what people in Vancouver were thinking about that. But we'll see where this Copa America goes. Do you think Argentina ends up winning this? Brazil? Where are you at in terms of an overall prediction?
I have never seen Hayes the following like Argentina has, and being inside that stadium with the noise level. That team now is playing with house money, because for a long time, ever since Diego Maradona won the World Cup in 1986, that team was desperate for a championship, almost to a point of being antagonistic. If you think, I'm lucky to do my job, but if you think media in our country puts pressure on teams, my goodness, my colleagues in Argentina are on air for 12, 14, 15 hours a day, just talking and scrutinizing and criticizing, and that team had to deal with it for almost 30 years. And then Lionel Messi had to deal with it for almost 16, 17 years of his career, because he wasn't winning anything. Now he's won a Copa America. Now he's won a World Cup. And that team just plays with a swagger. And you saw it last night. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what you think you can do. Doesn't matter, that you're brand new in this competition. You want to show us something. Hey, Lionel Messi is Lionel Messi. He will walk out what he wants. His team will walk out what they want. And I think, there's some good teams in this tournament. The States, I'm sure, are going to surprise as well. And Jamaica certainly surprised Canada in their Copa qualifier back last November. So they'll probably do the same thing, too, in this competition. But it's still Messi, man. And it's always going to be until whenever. He's going to be 37 years old next week. I watched him last night, especially in those runs where he's getting behind Canada's defense. And it doesn't look like he's ready to slow down just yet.
Yep, that sounds about right. All right, buddy, enjoy it. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Take care, boys.
Matthew Scianitti with the men's national team, now off to Kansas City. Got to get one against Peru. Got to get the Peruvians. Have to.
That guy's good at his job, by the way.
Crushes, man. Crushes. Yeah, he's awesome. Listen, it's it's a good time to be following that team because they're going to the World Cup. It's coming home, right? It's going to be in Toronto, Vancouver, and they're building towards that. And as you said throughout the afternoon, and Scianitti just confirmed that it doesn't take a genius to realize if you don't score, you're never going to be in any of these games or any of these tournaments. You've got to find a way to create offense. And they had some chances last night, and the refs maybe weren't that great. But Messi, Argentina, tie's going to go to the champs, basically. And, of course, the refs are going to be leaning towards Argentina, and that crowd is going to be pro-Argentina. And that's what it was last night, even though it was in Atlanta. You would think that game was in Buenos Aires last night. But it's going to get easier from there, but it's on Canada to take advantage of it. All right. Game 6 tonight. We'll come back with our best bets on that game. Tee up the weekend. Jays down in Cleveland. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Mailed In Fridays, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. BP is all in on supporting the Oilers to end the 30-year drought. BP's changing their logo from red to orange until the Oilers win it. Boston Pizza wants all of Canada on board to bring the cup home where it belongs. See you for Puck Drop and join us cheering on the good guys. History awaits. How are we feeling about the game tonight? Where are we at? Jonas, you an Oiler guy tonight? Panther guy tonight?
I'd like to see it go 7 at least, obviously.
Yes. Do you think it will, though?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I've been a part of the group think, as Hazy B says, for the last couple of days where I'm like, these things never happen. And it's pretty damn cool to be involved in it and watch it, see it unfold. Like, can this 97, can he do the unthinkable? Mm-hmm. And can he flip the switch on a 3-0 series lead and actually get the job done instead of it being just a good story and stuff for us to talk about on this show? Can he actually do this? It's been a hell of a ride, and it's been a lot of fun to talk about. But there's just something about Florida where it's like, they've been through it last year. Do they just button it down tonight and say, we're not screwing this up? Mm-hmm. That's kind of where my thought is right now, where Florida's going to have something to say tonight. Because if they don't, God knows what their psyche would be like in Game 7.
Yeah, and once they were up 3-0, I think we all concluded you're just not beating Florida 4 times in a row. And obviously that gets tested when Edmonton wins Game 4 and then they win Game 5. And now it really feels like the pendulum has swung. Yet I think that statement still holds true, right? Just saying you're not going to beat them 4 times in a row doesn't mean you can't beat them 2 times in a row. Just the idea of Florida having this many cracks at it and not getting it done. They're a really good team. They're not some Cinderella team that just has run out of magic pixie dust. Like they're a really good, well-oiled machine. It starts with Bobrovsky. If he's struggling, all bets are off. All bets are completely off. He's got to be the man. If he is, then I think Florida's going to win this thing. But, man, if we're on the air on Monday teeing up Game 7 of a Cup Final, that alone will be something that I don't think anyone saw coming, let alone the idea of Edmonton actually completing the comeback. But it's also these 2 days off in between games. Like, there's just so much time to think about it.
And by the way, out of curiosity, that's happening again if they win this one, right? Like it's
Monday night's Game 7 in Florida. They're off Saturday, off Sunday.
Think about how crazy that is. Like the weekend passes by and Game 7 would be Monday night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a weird one. Monday night, Game 7.
Wouldn't you make an exception for, you know what, get on the bird Saturday and Game 7 is Sunday night?
Mm-hmm. Sunday primetime, you would think that would do pretty well. But, I mean, it's already – it is what it is.
But it's just silly stuff.
Yeah. But I guess if you're going to go this far, why not? Get it to a 7. And it's June 21st today. And there's a chance there's 2 more hockey games.
Isn't that nuts that the Game 7 could be days before the draft? Literally days.
Yeah.
The draft is on Friday.
Right.
Well, they probably had it in their head. They're like, this thing is not any final. It's not 7. They're not going to wait 48 hours in between where teams have to scramble. And sure as hell, we might get there.
Yeah. On Monday, it'll be the 24th. We're a week away from Canada Day and free agency. The next season officially begins a week from Monday, and they still will have a Game 7 to be played. I'm pulling for it. At this point, I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care who wins one way or the other. I'm pulling for greatness. I'm pulling for the story. And we've gone this far. I do think it's kind of crazy that they're still playing hockey this late into the year, but why not 2 more games? Why not? I guess give us 2 more. Give us another one on Monday night. So, full coverage on TSN tonight, SportsCenter, tsn.ca. Noodles is out there doing his thing. Duffy made his way up from Atlanta right to Edmonton.
Direct flight.
And we're getting pictures sent to us. It just looks like an absolute scene out there. Like an absolute scene in Edmonton. And I guess... nobody's working. Everyone's partying. The good thing is, sure, Game 7's on a Monday, but at least Game 6 is on a Friday. If you're in Edmonton, you had Game 4 on a Saturday night, and now Game 6 on a Friday. You can't ask for much better than that. But, all right. All right, Jonas. Well, do you have one more you want to give us on the way out here? Do you have anything else you want to challenge?
I did have one more, but I don't want to keep needling.
You know what you've done, though? Now you got all these people are puffing their chest out and tweeting at me with things that they take issue with.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That would be a miserable existence if everyone started digging up something you said that bothered them from 2 years ago.
You and Jonas have started this where it's like a cult online. Yeah. So I'm going to have to chew on that all weekend, which is great.
You just got to watch what you say, I guess.
So I'll filter it through you.
Try doing that for 3 hours every day. Watch what you say.
The thing is, the things that you've challenged me on have either been incorrect
or taken out of context.
or taken completely out of context. The Marner one off the top, I'm in agreement with you. I think they need to move. I think they need to change. I think it needs to be with that player because of where he is in his age and all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, and this has been well reported on, I think the Leafs would be the first one to say it. They gave him the contract. He's got a full no move. If he's not going to waive, then they got to figure that out. But he may not.
And one thing
there's not much we can do about that.
It doesn't get mentioned enough that this was not unforeseeable, right? We talked about this last summer, that if you don't do something now, you can't, your control of it is going to change.
Right. Pierre-Luc Dubois, before the new no movement kicked in, the no trade.
Exactly.
Now, Marner's a much better player than
He's
Pierre-Luc
a great player.
Dubois,
I don't think
obviously.
you guys have been good about reinforcing that. No one's saying he's not a great player.
Nor to blame.
Nor to blame. It just hasn't worked with this configuration.
It's the group of players, and some of them has to change. And with his contract status, he's the one where it seems that would, if they were going to do anything, would be most likely.
It's the most logical.
That's all we've been trying to say.
Yeah. But
they all shoulder the blame, all of them together, because it hasn't worked.
Mm-hmm. That's right. The whole organization's got to own that. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Panthers puck line plus 1.5. Right, I think it's a tight game. Edmonton could win tonight. I wouldn't be shocked if it went to overtime, but I think Florida keeps it within a goal. So puck line Panthers and Carter Verhaeghe to record at least a point tonight. That's paying basically even money. I love that parlay tonight. Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and find thousands of ways to play. Please play responsibly. It must be 19 plus. Physically located in Ontario. All right, boys. Jonas, great seeing you.
Thanks, boys. I'm going to keep a notebook when I watch the show just to write down stuff.
Maybe bring something in that you disliked what O had to say or Noodles or something. But it's good. I can handle it. I can take it. Jonas Knows Best has been established. It's a new bit moving forward. We love it. All right. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. Everyone for tuning in. TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your weekends. We're back Monday at...
Jonas, you dominated Hazy B today.
Thank you.
Dominated.
Thanks for the support.
4 p.m.?
We'll chat then.